Hey guys, it's Carl. This is all the info you need to know about the brand new MacBook Pros that just dropped. I'm actually rocking my 16-inch MacBook Pro as a bit of nostalgia right now, as that is what's being replaced. Here's all the info from today's Apple keynote that you need to know. The biggest change is coming to the M1 chip, and I think everyone saw the rumors. We all thought it was going to be the M1X, M1 II. It's called the M1 Pro. We've got 8 high-performance cores, 2 high-efficiency cores, 70% faster than M1. 70% faster, that's kind of crazy to think because the M1 is already a big powerhouse. It's got its built-in media engine, which I'm most excited for because I spend most of my time crunching video. It's also got a ProRes codec, which I'm excited, so I'm definitely gonna test that with 4K. Maybe this is the time to upgrade to 8K footage. And maybe the biggest surprise, we kind of didn't expect, they're not launching 1, but 2 chips, so the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. And the M1 Max kind of builds on the M1 Pro and kind of, once again, just stacks on top of it. So 400 gigabytes of bandwidth, 57 billion transistors, 10-core CPU, and a 32-core GPU, so that's double. And you can see some of the stats that Apple is providing against, say, a 4-core PC chip and, of course, an 8-core PC laptop chip. And I will say, if you are in the Apple ecosystem, the M1 is a powerhouse. So if this is 1.7 times better than an 8-core PC chip, and it's at 70% less power, which I think will really impact battery life. We'll get to that in a second. And the big thing about these new M1 Pro and M1 Max chips is the power consumption. So I think Apple has kind of compared it to higher end laptop graphics cards with discrete GPUs. These, of course, are using way less power, so that will help with both battery life, and you won't get the loud and noisy fans. Of course, a lot of heat dissipation. So it'll be interesting to see. It's pretty impressive what these graphs are showing, but we'll have to do full testing to kind of see what that looks like. And of course, all that talk has been about the chipsets, and these are now being delivered into the new MacBook Pros, which were also just announced. This is a big event. They're available in 2 different size models, and they've been completely redesigned, so both 14 and 16-inch models. They allow for 50% more air intake, so it should help with a lot of cooling. 4.7 pounds, 16.8 millimeters on the 16-inch, 50 millimeters, and 3.5 pounds on the 14-inch model. So the first big change is coming to the keyboard, and you can imagine a standard Apple Magic Keyboard, and you can just kind of stick that into the MacBook Pro. So it has all of the F function keys. Connectivity. This is something that I've been so stoked about. So we are now adding an HDMI port, Thunderbolt 4 port, and the best thing for creators, an SD card slot. We've still got a headphone jack on the other side and 2 other Thunderbolt 4 ports, and the charging mechanism is MagSafe. So this was the OG MacBook that I used to have, and this is a magnetic design. With M1 Pro, you can connect to 2 Pro Display XDRs, and if you have M1 Max, you can connect up to 3, plus a 4K TV. That's 75 million pixels of screen estate real estate. Screen estate real estate. That's a lot of pixels. So changes coming to the display, we are getting a notch, so that looks a lot like your typical iPhone, but bezels now have shrunk down in size. It's got a higher pixel density, 7.7 million pixels, and for the 14-inch model, you have 5.9 million pixels. The next big thing is ProMotion, so that 120 hertz refresh rate, and that's adaptive. So if you're scrolling through a web page, that will become super fluid, and the nice thing, video editors can choose, say, a native refresh rate. So if you want to have that stuck to, say, 60, you can always change that in the settings. And it's also got a Liquid Retina XDR display inspired by the XDR display, which you see behind me. So if you're looking to edit HDR content, you can now do that on your MacBook Pros. That's up to 1,000 nits of brightness sustained across the entire display. Inside of that notch, we finally have a 1080p camera. I'm surprised that Apple didn't make that 4K, but you can now FaceTime in 1080p. The 16-inch model has an improved sound system, and it has a very similar 3-mic array, and it can just capture lower noise levels. It also has 80% more bass and supports spatial audio, and that's across both models. And I find that MacBook Pros already have industry-leading sound, so this is now, I guess, even better. And maybe the most important thing to talk about is battery life. And that was one of the biggest improvements of the M1. We got around 14, 15 hours per charge. And thankfully, even with all this power, we're still getting really good battery life. The 14-inch model, we're getting 17 hours of video playback. And on the 16-inch model, you're getting 21 hours of video playback. That's 10 additional hours than this guy right here. And battery-wise, the new MacBook Pros also support fast charge, so you can get 50% in 30 minutes, and I'm sure you need to use that new MagSafe charger for that. So yeah, that's kind of the new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro with either the new M1 Pro or M1 Max. You can spec them with either. I'm super stoked to have that older design with some of those ports. I'm really looking forward to not kind of living the dongle life. And if there was any doubt to upgrading, these are by far the best MacBook Pros that you can get. I don't even have them in studio yet, and I can already tell you they will be a beast, just judging by what we've seen in M1. I should be getting them by the end of this week, so just make sure you stay posted, but I can already tell you these are the ones that you want to order. These kind of crush my older 16-inch, they crush the older 13-inch, they even crush the older M1 Max. They're just looking really good. The pricing though, $19.99 for the 14-inch and $24.99 for the 16-inch. Obviously, if you spec those with the M1 Max, I'm sure they'll get a lot more expensive. They are available to order as of today, fully available next week. Now, hope you guys enjoyed it. If any of you are picking up the new M1 MacBooks, let me know which one you're getting. I'm kind of torn between the 14 and 16-inch. I love the form factor of the 14, but of course that larger display is always nice. Let me know down below in the comments, and this will probably be the last time I use my older 16-inch. We'll catch the rest of you in one of my next ones. Peace!